I'm going to give an overview now of the CamSat wireless video sender, and this unit comes at a range of 3 kilometers, and the model number on this is the CAM5816H. Okay, so it just comes in this box here, as you can see it, and in terms of what comes inside it, we have a user manual here, which is pretty compact but to the point, and then we have a sender unit, which you can see here. I'm going to show this in detail in a few moments. We have a receiver unit, which you can see here. And then we have a bag of componentry, which you can see here. And basically that's just the brackets for allowing it to be mounted onto a pole, and also the screws that come with it to be allowed the cover here to be screwed on. Okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to give an overview of exactly how we would more or less put this together, and also give an overview of the parts that make it up. So let's start with the transmitter unit here. So the first thing we do when we pick it up here, we'll notice this is not actually screwed into position. So if I just remove the screws here, you can see inside. So the screws that come with the set that I showed just moments earlier will actually screw in here, and I'll demonstrate that in a few moments. So what we'd actually have is we'd have a Bnc connection that would push the cable in here with the Bnc connection, and we'll just attach it on here, and then we can just watertight it here, and that will actually carry the video link from here. And on this side here we have the power input on it. So you can see the Bnc style connection there, and then in terms of this block here we have a number of inputs on it, but the key points here is there's a common here, and then there's an audio left and an audio right. In general setup you wouldn't be using this, but it does support it. And also we have a common here, and also a power input as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to show a unit that I've wired up already and put the bracket onto, and I'll give you a much better overview of how this goes together, rather than going through the whole assembling it in front of the end process. So what we've done here is we put on a bracket here on the back of the unit, and what would happen here is if we had a pole, we'd simply drop it down and we'd tighten it on. You can hold the bracket here like this then, hold the unit onto the pole. And then if we look at the front of the unit here, we have a cable running in here. And what we have is we have a Bnc connection here, and on a Bnc connection at this end. So this would obviously be coming directly, we'll say, from your camera. And then what we have from, we'll say, normally what we remember recommending would be a 12 volt 5 amp power unit. We have the power feeding in here, so a black and a red cable here. So you could be doing this, we'll say, in this particular one we have a Pacific power cable for it. You could be using a Cat5 cable alternatively here, just to run the power directly into this point here. And then what we have here is we have a series of switches. So each switch, there's 4 switches in total, and each switch has an on and off position anyway. And what it says on it basically is, if you're using this inside the EU, it's a total of 8 channels you can use. But anybody who knows binary knows that 4 switches could actually be a total of 16 positions. And outside the EU, you should be able to use additional things. But it's basically an 8 channel version is what we have here. And the idea that is that it's a preset frequency that is broadcast on, and the idea would be that if there was another unit operating in the same area, what you'd be able to do is just set it to a different channel number here, and it would prevent interference coming through. So that's it anyway. The transmitter unit has been covered there. And we'll move along then, and we'll just look at the actual receiver unit. So when we're broadcasting here, we'd have the units just facing each other like this, and obviously at a distance of up to 3 kilometers, so not as close as I'm demonstrating here. And we'll look here and we see basically the same thing. So we'll see the channel number switches here are the same. So obviously we set them up identical on both ends. Then we have a Bnc connection here, and then we have the same common, the audio left and right, and the power and the common as well for the power listed here. And what I've done here again is I have a unit there that I've pre-assembled. So I'll just move this in focus here now. So the very first thing I'm going to do here is I have 1 screw put in here, which I could have used to screw this cap on. And the first thing you're going to notice here is that when we push the screw in here, if I turn it upside down, it doesn't fall out. And that's because just the nature of these are sort of self-tapping screws, so they lock themselves in here. And it's just a very, very handy little design, okay? So just mention that particular feature. And if we come along here, we'll just see here again, we have a bracket identical to the one we had previously for mounting it onto a pole. And if we look at the back of the unit here, we have Bnc connection in here, and once again we have the actual power units here as well. Okay, the power cables have been connected here, and once again we're using a red and black cable. In this particular one, I'm after using actually a twin core cable that has both Bnc for the picture and also the power on a single cable. Okay, so you can see here it's pretty comprehensive in terms of the overview we're given and how we wire it. So the range, as I said, on it is up to 3 kilometers. And in terms of the uses of it, well, a pretty typical application for it would be something like you have a farm house and you have a farm shed where you want to install, let's say, cabin cameras some distance away, but it's not practical to run a cable all the way back. Well, this is a very, very practical unit here in terms of you can broadcast the signal from that up to 3 kilometers and pick it up on the far end and simply run it in. So from that perspective, it's very, very impressive. Also, would say if you had an industrial unit, would say, and you had a number of different units that you had wired back to a central location, you might have one outlier unit somewhere where you need to broadcast it, and you don't want to have a separate control room, something like that on it. They can use this unit here to broadcast the signal back. So that's it anyway, an overview of the CamSat wireless video sender with a range of 3 kilometers.